Hey y'all, we're back for another review of Sisters. We're on season 10, episode 7, entitled Leaving to Stay. Go ahead and give a disclaimer right quick. It's not going to be that long of a video. There was not a whole lot happening in this episode, so girl, I ain't even bothered taking this messy ponytail down or nothing, so whatever. We'll deal with all that later. There's a lot going on that I need to get prepared for, so yeah. So don't worry about the messy bun. If you don't want to see it, just listen, alright? Okay. All right, so we are looking at Cheyenne. Cheyenne shows up at Andy's law firm, uninvited, unprovoked, anything to that effect. And she's just sashaying through the office, you know, as if she's a millionaire's wife. And this is just what she plans on doing with her day. She is going in there. She gets the receptionist to show her Andy's office, and she decides to sit down, and she's spinning around in the chair, and the receptionist is like, girl, come on, get out this lady office. Like, you said you was gonna be here for a second, whatever. So she's just wandering around the halls, just gallivanting around, and she runs into Hayden, and he's basically kind of laying it on thick, trying to holler at her, trying to talk to her, whatever, and she ain't giving him the time of day. She's like, sir, go ahead about your business, but she does take his business card. So I guess it's safe to assume that this whole Cheyenne, Hayden fiasco is gonna happen. It's gonna be a thing. I don't want it to be a thing, but it is going to be. So here we are. Either way, again, she's sashaying through the office. She's on her way out, and she runs into Zach up at the front desk, and she is all over him. She's like smelling him, like, what you got on? You know, good, blase blah. And he's like, girl, get up off me. I smell like spoken for. Like, get off of me. Just say what you want, girl. Me and your life is in danger. Leave me alone, Molly, okay? And she's like, I don't know if she's ditzy, if she's high, if she's unaware, but she don't care nothing about it. She's still trying to put the moves on Zach, and that's when Andy and Fatima walks up, and you know, Fatima ready to go in the purse, like, what's going on? And she know that Zach is not dumb enough to do something like this at her place of employment, and she finds out that Cheyenne is Andy's sister, so she's trying to give a little bit of grace, right? She's trying to give Cheyenne just a smidgen of grace, and she's like, girl, Andy, you better talk to her before I do, because I'm gonna hurt her feelings, like, you know. Anyway, I think my presumption is that Cheyenne is a little under her bathtub influences, right? Because she's kind of presenting like she's on something. Not sure what it is, but she's presenting as if she's on, you know, whatever that was. She put up her nose in that bathroom because she's kind of stumbling and all over the place, and she's kind of almost unaware of her surroundings. So, yeah. So they run into each other. So like I said, Cheyenne is going to be a part of this thing, and she's going to be like the flower child with no boundaries, and that's going to really aggravate me, but here we are. All right, so Danny and Tony, they're sitting around, they're still having a conversation, and he is asking her, like, you know, how'd you meet the dude, you know, that ended up potentially violating her, and she takes immediate offense. Again, this is, in my opinion, it's very soon after the offense, but she's still getting these line of questioning. And she takes the question as kind of shade, and he's like, you know, no, that's not what I'm saying. She was like, well, if you're trying to basically assume that I'm loose and I just picked him up, you know, on a whim, that's not how that went. He's like, no, that wasn't the intent of my questioning, but, you know, I'm gonna leave it alone. And she does tell him, like, you know, he must have followed me home from the grocery store, which, okay, cool. He probably definitely did follow her home from the grocery store. And he is now worried. He's realizing the scope of what could have happened to her as well. You know, she could have been trafficked. She could have been, you know, a victim of a killer. Like, she could have been it could have been much worse than what it was. And she knows that. She does know that, you know, could have been really worse, way worse than what it was. And again, she apologizes, you know, for even hooking up with the guy in the first place. And he tells her, like, I ain't too worried about that right now. I just want you to be okay. Like, not just get out of my face, stop asking me questions, okay, but truly okay. So yeah, you know, good enough. And he also goes on to admit to her that, you know, he might have a gambling problem, so he's going to be working on that as well, because that is kind of one of the big ticket items that put them where they ended up, which kind of snowball effect kind of put her in the crosshairs of this person. So they both kind of take accountability for what they did within the relationship that kind of led to her ending up in the vulnerable situation to be accosted. All right. And, you know, good enough conversation, but I think we need to give the offender a lot more. We need to give that person, you know, their weight in gold as well, because, sir, I don't give a damn what I did and how I got here. Definitely not a permission slip or grounds for you to do what you ended up doing. All right. All right. Okay. So we see Miss India lady from the headquarters, and she needs to speak with Maurice. And she's giving him way too much attitude, like off rip. Like, she is even talking to him, like when she comes in the office, she was like, close the door. She didn't even bother looking up for her paperwork. She didn't give him no eye contact. So we already know she on this high management, you know, attitude that she got going on. And she says to him, like, I know you were close to Sabrina, you know, but some things are probably going to change around here. But while we're talking about Sabrina, did you go to the hospital to see her, you know? And he's like, I did. And she wants to know, like, okay, so, like, looking at him like, okay, so is she gonna live? What's her status? And he's like, well, she's getting better. She's improving by the day. And of course, we know that she probably has not improved much from the night prior. But what Maurice is probably doing here is trying to overplay how well she is so that we can kind of buy some time, so that her, you know, they don't put nobody in her spot the next damn day, you know, almost. He's like, no, she's getting better. And she's like, okay, cool. She's getting better and all that's nice. But even if she, you know, she pulls through, she's gonna be gone for an extended amount of time, if she even comes back at all. You know, very insensitive, very, very much pissed me off, but whatever. And then she tells Maurice, like, okay, you need to go and get your mind right. Like, I know Sabrina probably overlooked a lot of stuff because y'all friends, and y'all homegirls, homeboys, whatever the language is, and all these extended breaks and all this lackluster customer service that I've been witnessing, it's gotta be better. And she tells him, like, listen, I'm gonna be keeping a close eye on you because I need you to pick it up. I need you to do a little better. And he's like, okay, girl, whatever you say, Miss India. Like, and she was like, I need more from you. He's like, well, how much more you want? Like, you want my firstborn? You want my DNA? Like, what else you want, girl? And she basically kind of writes his attitude off of, oh, you just going through something. If he going through something, girl, you must be going through more, because your attitude is the worst of the two. But whatever. Okay, we got to deal with her for the time being. And then she tells him, like, yeah, in the meantime, I'm going to drop this paperwork that says you were officially counseled, which means, like, girl, sir, I'm already starting the paper trail. Like, basically probably trying to weed him out, get him up out of there. Which, okay, Paige is probably going to end up with the position in the event that Sabrina doesn't make it back, because what happens next is Maurice is about to go ahead and quit, just to jump ahead to that. And so Maurice is kind of sitting there, he's replaying everything in his mind that Miss India just said to him with no sense of compassion, right? And he calls Dylan. He was like, listen, I'm about to go ahead and do what we talked about last night. And what they discussed was him quitting, it was probably already hard enough for him to be there, knowing his friend ain't there, and how much they had already went through with going to jail and the bank being robbed, like everything that's already come with this workplace. So Dylan is like, basically, all right, do what you gotta do. And Miss Girl comes out there to have him sign that counseling paperwork, and he's like, sir, ma'am, go ahead and read the line. So he probably wrote Donald Duck on that paper or something. He probably didn't even sign it. He probably wrote go to hell, which if it was me, I did it, I wouldn't have signed a doggone thing. Either way, he tells her, like, girl, I quit. Like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm out of here. But he also reminds Miss Wig that I need you to know, like, if anything were to happen to you, there would be a new diversity hire in your seat in a second. And you would be upset at the lack of compassion as to how soon and how rapidly they would replace you. So keep that in your mind when you're talking to people and how you handle people, because basically, like, you've handled this whole situation with insensitivity, and there's really a special place in hell for a bitch like you. So I'm out. I don't want nothing to do with this job. And peace. So, I'm really not mad about it. But what was really hilarious to me is Paige. Paige jumping over the counter like, Maurice, do not leave me at this bank by myself, girl. Paige, girl, you either gonna have to quit. I don't know what you're gonna have to do, but Maurice is out of there. Like, girl, he gone. It's over. So, I don't know. Paige wanted the position a while ago. Is she gonna take it? That's the $1 million question. I think so, because, girl, she's a white woman in corporate America. Of course. There's no competition here. She's going to take the job. That loyalty she got to Sabrina Maurice, it's short-lived. It hadn't been that long. She's going to take the position, surely. Okay, so Tony is talking to Danny, and what I feared was going to happen is kind of what we're lining up to happen, right? Because in a previous review, I said I hope that they don't get back in this relationship, because at this point, it would be a trauma bond reconnection type of situation. I don't think that this is the best decision for getting back into a relationship, but we'll see what happens. Either way, they're talking, and he tells her, like, you know, before we jump back in this thing, before we decide that we're done with each other, you know, after their apologies, I'm sorry, I'm responsible, he says, like, let's take some time to kind of process what went on and how we're going to move forward before throwing out the whole relationship. All right. Reasonable enough. And she tells him, like, listen, right now I ain't even got the strength, I ain't got the energy to think about none of that, but I will agree to give it some time to think things over, kind of mull over things, and maybe see where we're at in a little while. In the meantime, I need to be by myself. I need to be by myself so that I can reflect, so I can have some space, so I can kind of think about everything, process everything, and come to some conclusions and some decisions. And I think that that's kind of the best way to kind of leave this thing for the time being, because like I said, it ain't gonna go well if we do this trauma bond thing, because it's gonna keep coming up. We're gonna keep being reminded, and it ain't really gonna work. So we'll see what happens. And that's kind of pretty much everything that kind of happened in the episode. We kind of saw where Zach and Fatima, you know, had them a little afternoon delight on Hayden's desk and broke it and left it as is. But that was just a funny little add in. But either way, that was the end of the episode. I am kind of ready for Danny to kind of not having to rehash this thing, and we can kind of move forward with, like, what's the next steps. Like, I think we're 3 episodes in of I don't want to talk about it, I'm good. I ain't telling nobody who it is. Like, I think we need to get the ball rolling. Like, I don't want to go into season 8 still not having, like, a resolution, a resolve, a full-on reveal of what this person is, who this person is, and all that good stuff. That's just my little 2 cents on it. Either way, let me know what you think about the episode, and we can talk about it in the comments. In the meantime, like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.